Fear had backed her into the narrow space between stacked barrels and a dry goods shelf. 3 men closed in, boots scraping the floor, shadows swallowing what little light remained. Her heart slammed so hard it hurt. There was nowhere to run, no one to call. Then the door creaked open behind them. A stranger stood in the glare of the sun, dust clinging to his coat, his eyes calm and cold as winter steel. He looked at the men. He looked at her. And he spoke 5 words that cut through the fear like a blade. "She's leaving with me. The summer of 1887 had come down hard on Dry Fork, like the land itself was being punished. The sun hung white and cruel above the valley, bleaching color from everything it touched. Dust twisted through the empty street, and heat shimmered so fiercely that buildings looked ready to vanish if you stared too long. Even the horses stood, still at the hitching rails, heads low, ribs dark with sweat. Anna Crow felt that heat the moment she stepped off her porch that morning. It struck her face like an open hand. She closed her eyes, breathed in air that tasted of dry soil and quiet. Despair, and told herself to move. That was what crows did. They moved forward even when there was nothing left to hope for. She was 23, alone on a failing ranch. The land her father had fought for was slipping through her fingers, one unpaid bill at a time. Some mornings she wondered why she bothered standing up at all, but she did. Every day she did. Her father's voice still lived in her memory, rough and steady. "Don't let them take it, Anna. This land is home." She had promised him, her hand in his as the fever burned him away. And she intended to keep that promise even if it broke her. She saddled her only remaining horse, an old bay mare named June, and turned toward town. She needed flour, salt. She needed mercy, but she'd take supplies. Dry Fork wasn't much. A single street, a church at one end, a saloon at the other. But it was all she had ever known. The bell above Carter's general store rang. As she stepped inside, cool air washed over her, bringing the smells of leather, tobacco, and sugar candy. Old Ezra Carter looked up from behind the counter, worry flickering in his eyes. Before he could speak, a voice came from behind her. "Well, now look what the sun dragged in." Anna turned slowly. 3 men stood between her and the door. Black Mesa. Ranch hands. And at their center was Wade Kincaid, Elias Granger's enforcer, smiling like he already owned her future. Her spine stiffened. The trap had closed. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this was the day everything would change. Wade Kincaid took a slow step forward, his smile lazy and mean. Anna didn't move. She planted her boots and lifted her chin even as her pulse thudded in her ears. Fear showed weakness. Her father had taught her that. Well, Wade said, tipping his hat back just enough to look her over. "Didn't expect to find you here today, Miss Crow." His 2 men fanned out behind him, close enough that she could smell sweat and dust on their clothes. The door was blocked. The windows were too high. She was cornered. "I'm here to buy supplies," Anna said. Her voice stayed even, though her hands curled tight at her sides. "That all?" Wade chuckled softly. "That's all any of us ever want, isn't it?" He leaned closer. "But Mr. Granger's been worried about you. A young woman alone on a dying ranch. Must be hard." His eyes slid over her face, calculating. "Must be lonely. My ranch isn't Mr. Granger's concern," she said. Wade's smile thinned. "That's where you're wrong." He stepped closer still until the air between them felt too small. "Black Mesa is expanding. Needs water. Needs land. And you're sitting on both." He lowered his voice. "Mr. Granger's tired of being patient." Anna felt the shelf press into her back. Wood dug into her shoulders. She had nowhere left to give. "The Crow Ranch isn't for sale," she said. "Not today. Not ever." The smile vanished from Wade's face like a lamp blown out by wind. He grabbed her wrist hard enough to make her gasp. "Careful," he said quietly. "Stubborn women don't fare well out here." She twisted, slapped his hand away, pain shooting up her arm. "Don't touch me." Something dark lit in his eyes. "I like fire," he said. "But fire burns out." Behind him, the other men shifted, closing the space tighter. Anna's heart hammered. She thought of her father's grave, of the empty barn, of June waiting outside. This was how it ended. Not with gunfire. "Just pressure and silence. Mr. Carter," she called. Hating the tremor, she couldn't stop. "Please." Ezra Carter stood frozen behind the counter. knuckles white, eyes full of shame. He didn't move, Anna understood. Fear owned this town. Wade leaned in. His voice a whisper meant only for her. You're going to sign that deed one way or another. The bell over the door creaked. Sunlight spilled across the floor. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then a man stepped inside, dust on his coat, a calm in his posture that didn't belong to trouble. He looked at Wade. Then he looked at Anna, and the room seemed to hold its breath. The stranger didn't rush. He let the silence stretch until it made men uncomfortable. Morning, he said at last, voice low and unhurried. Hot day. Wade Kincaid straightened, easing his hand off Anna's wrist as if nothing had happened. This store's closed. Private business. The stranger's eyes flicked to Ezra Carter, still frozen behind the counter. Sign on the door says otherwise. Wade's jaw tightened. You don't know who you're interrupting. The stranger took one slow step forward. The lady looks like she wants to leave. She ain't going anywhere. Wade snapped. The stranger turned to Anna. For the first time, something soft in his eyes. Ma'am, he said gently, you want to go? Her throat was dry. Her heart felt ready to tear itself apart. But she nodded. The softness vanished. She's leaving with me. The words fell heavy. Wade's face flushed red. His hand twitched toward his gun. You just made a bad mistake, Wade said. Black Mesa Ranch doesn't forget this. He sneered. You walk out with her, you're dead. The stranger shrugged. Been dead before. He stepped forward. Wade went for his pistol. The movement barely started before the stranger's gun appeared in his hand, fast as thought. The barrel pressed between Wade's eyes. The click of the hammer sounded loud as thunder. The other two men froze, hands half drawn, fear locking them in place. Here's how this goes, the stranger said calmly. You're going to take your hands off your guns. You're going to step back. And you're going to let the lady walk out. Wade swallowed. Sweat beaded at his temple. You're bluffing. Am I? The hammer clicked again. Slowly, Wade lifted his hands. The other men followed. Ma single quotes am, the stranger said without looking away from Wade. Walk. Anna moved. Her legs felt numb, but they carried her past the men, past the gun, past the fear that had nearly crushed her. She pushed through the door into blinding sunlight. She was shaking, alive. June nickered softly as Anna untied her, hands trembling. As she swung into the saddle. Behind her, boots crossed the threshold. Ride, the stranger said. Don't look back. She didn't. They galloped down the street and out of Dry Fork, dust rising behind them. Only when they put miles between them did he raise a hand. We're clear for now. Anna pulled June to a walk, breath ragged. Thank you. I don't even know your name. He studied the horizon before answering. Luke Mercer, he said. And you're Anna Crow. Blinked. You heard them say it. Yes, he said. And some things never leave you once you hear them. They rode in silence for a long while, the land stretching wide and unforgiving around them. The heat pressed down like a weight, but Anna barely noticed it now. Her hand still shook from what had almost happened back in the store. You should ride on, she said finally. Get out of this territory. Black Mesa won't forget you. They won't forget you either, he said. Running doesn't fix that, she swallowed. They want my land. They've wanted it since my father died. Her voice hardened. I won't sell. I can't. It's all I have left. Luke nodded once. Men like Granger don't stop because you say no. I know, she said quietly. He'll come again. He turned then, studying her face like he was measuring something unseen. Where's your ranch? Anna frowned. Why? Because you need help. She almost laughed. I can't pay you. Didn't ask, he said. They rode on. And before she could talk herself out of it, the land ahead began to look painfully familiar. The windmill, the dry creek bed, the sagging fence. When the Crow Ranch came into view, Anna felt the familiar ache settle in her chest. The house paint peeled. The barn roof bowed like an old man's back. The corral stood mostly empty. This is it, she said. What's left of it? Luke dismounted slowly, eyes moving from building to building. He didn't speak for a long moment. Could be worse, he said at last. She let out a breath that was half laugh, half sob. You're joking, I'm not. He touched a fence post, tested it. Bones are still good. Just neglected. She stared at him. You know ranch work. I know survival. They walked the land together. She showed him the broken fence line, the dry well, the door that wouldn't close. He listened, watched, learned. When they stopped between the house and the barn, Anna braced herself. This was where he would leave. Sensible men always did. Instead, Luke said, 1 week. What? Give me 1 week. Room and food. Nothing else. He met her eyes. I work sun up to sundown. At the end, you decide if I stay. Her heart thudded. Why would you do that? Something passed behind his eyes. Pang maybe. Or memory. Everyone deserves a chance to save what's theirs, he said. The sun beat down. The land waited. And for the first time in months, Anna felt something unfamiliar stirred out hope. 1 week, she said. There's a room in the bunkhous. Luke nodded. That'll do. As he led his horse toward the barn, Anna watched him go.